Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Proof that that's real coffee. I get accused of lying about things like that. Real coffee in my cup. It is 6 in the morning. And it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And those of you who like these type of videos, please remember to click like down below. I had someone link me last night, and I was checking it out this morning. They linked a video that MattDoesFitness about two bodybuilders trying the Army physical fitness test unprepared. Now, I always find that sort of thing interesting because one of the things that I point out to you guys all the time, a lot of bodybuilders are not actually in shape. That you can't always look at a person and tell if they are actually in shape or not. Well, what do we mean by in shape? Total conditioning, strength, mobility, all this stuff. And it's interesting that he got Mike Thurston on there because I had said in a video about the leg training and squatting a couple weeks back that Mike Thurston actually isn't really in good shape. And I mean that from a lifting perspective, that he's not particularly strong, he doesn't have good mobility, any of this stuff. And this is one of the problems that we have with the whole bodybuilding thing is that people don't understand. A lot of times bodybuilders, particularly when they are most conditioned, they have no conditioning. When they are most in shape, they are the most out of shape. It's this interesting contradiction in their world. It's kind of fascinating to behold. And so when I see a pair of bodybuilders actually go do something athletic related to actually kind of see where their overall fitness is, I'm not necessarily saying that this is the best judge of it, because there's a lot of different ways we can judge fitness, and a lot of people aren't necessarily a fan of the Army standard that's there. Even the Army's not. I believe the Army is changing its standard, or already has. They have a whole series of tests that are replacing this now that do look a lot more at strength and carrying capacity and things like that. Right? What's your encumbrance, bro? So, gamer reference. I think it's interesting when that happens. Now, MattDoesFitness actually passed it. Was he exhausted? Did he get a great score? No, he didn't get a particularly good score on anything, but he actually passed it. So, I'm going to give props for that. If we're going to knock someone successfully doing something that they set out to do and passing, is not something we would knock someone over, right? That's not reasonable. The fact that he, as someone who doesn't really do cardio or conditioning, passed it, I'll give credit where credit is due, man. I'll give props to him. I actually legitimately thought, and I'll be honest here, I legitimately thought he was going to fail it. I thought he was going to fail the whole test because he's a bodybuilder. That's usually reason enough to say someone's not in shape. And that shows how biased we can be about people, right? That shows my personal bias, and I admit that I was biased. I walked into that and laughed and said he's going to fail it because he's a bodybuilder, and bodybuilders are out of shape as a general rule. Because that's my bias. I just assume by default when I see a bodybuilder, they're nothing but drugs and synthol and genetics, and that they have no fitness at all, zero. It's just my personal bias from observing them over the years. I've met bodybuilders who are in phenomenal shape and strong and conditioned and everything. I've met some, they're there. They're the exception now. But Matt passed it. He actually passed the Army fitness test, right? The entire military has to pass it. He passed it. So credit where credit is due. And I don't think Matty, I don't know his age, but I know he's not like 22, 23. He's not a super young dude. I'd have to look up his exact age. So he passed it though, man. And I'll give credit. He's in shape. He's in shape. Now, a lot of people would say, well, I would expect a bodybuilder with a big chest and everything to hit perfect scores. It's like, well, why would you? People are making that assumption that because people use a bunch of gear to get big and maybe don't even always know how to train, maybe don't train that hard. I don't actually know how Matty trains personally. I think I saw something on it a while back. I don't know how he trains. I really don't. That you assume they're going to be in shape. Well, that's not how this works, guys. Again, bodybuilding is largely about illusion, and it's usually, again, created with substances, genetics, things like that. On the other hand, Mike Thurston failed it. He actually failed the test. He couldn't pass the Army fitness test. And we'll come back over to the point that I've kind of said in the past. He's not in shape. Now, the fact that he failed on sit-ups was interesting. I thought he would fail the running. He passed the running. Now, before people jump up and say, Jason, why don't you do this? First of all, guys, I'm in my 40s and I'm a power lifter. I do conditioning. I do probably do more conditioning than they do, but I'm not interested in running only because I don't want to beat my knees up. Like, to me, the risk of getting some sort of knee inflammation from running when I haven't been running, just not worth it to me as an athlete, especially at my age. Furthermore, people will talk about Army fitness standards. I am actually way above the age limit to enlist in any branch of the armed forces. It's not even an option for people in my age group. We're not allowed in under any circumstances. In fact, if the draft is re-implemented, I am outside of the age bracket for a draft. So perspective there, people. But did I used to run? Yeah, I used to run. I used to run 5 miles every morning when I was a runner. But I'll be honest, when I became a lifter, I quit running. The first time I got under a barbell, under a squat bar, I never ran again. I have never run again in my entire life after doing that. I quit. I find lifting better. And by that same token, when it comes to something like running, I'm not necessarily a fan of running as good conditioning work. I understand if you have a job that might require you to run, that running is a good idea. All right, you're going to be in the military, you probably need to run. Be a police officer, you probably need to run. Not really necessary for anybody else. Really isn't. We can do other forms of conditioning. In fact, let's come over, let's talk about strength and conditioning coaches. I've seen Louis Simmons say that when they send him runners to Westside, and he does train runners sometimes, he doesn't have them run. It's like he works on their strength and he works on their conditioning. He has them do sled drags, he has them box squat. He has them get strong and conditioned, and then usually their run times improve anyways. It's not necessarily run people for that. So what people need to remember, a lot of strength coaches, when they're dealing with various field athletes who are in great shape, they don't run them. So I'm not necessarily a fan of running. I get it, though. I understand why the Army does it as a test, and props to these guys for getting out there at heavier body weight and going ahead and doing a run. Just keep in mind, guys, if you don't run normally and you're at a heavier body weight because you do a ton of training or do gear and things like these guys do, running may not go too well. These guys might have really, really sore knees for the next couple of days. They might be fighting some inflammation now as a result of that little bitty 2-mile run. Different world. But the highlight here was interesting is that all things considered, I'll give them props for trying. I'll give them props for doing it on camera. As expected, Mike Thurston didn't pass, and I was surprised that MattDoesFitness did. So, again, the guy is clearly in shape. Now, again, we come over to the point people would say, well, wouldn't you expect them to just blow it out of the water? It's like, no, because they're bodybuilders. Bodybuilders are oftentimes out of shape. But I think it does show that MattDoesFitness is decently well-rounded, in good shape, probably has a good combination of strength and conditioning, probably has an overall fitness lifestyle in terms of his training. I know there's a lot of discussion about the guy's diet, as to maybe his diet isn't necessarily always healthy or fit, and there's a lot of things going on with that, a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation as to maybe what he uses to keep at a lower body fat while doing that. That's neither here nor there. Again, as a general rule, anyone who calls himself as a bodybuilder is enhanced, right? Doesn't matter. Anybody calls himself a bodybuilder on something. Just be realistic about it. No such thing as a true natural bodybuilder who looks like they lift. They're very, 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 very rare. They're very rare. They exist, but again, they're pretty much a minority. Most natural bodybuilders that you think of who are true natural bodybuilders, even if they compete, are really small. They're not particularly jacked. Think Eric Helms, right? Perfect example. So the point is, at least in terms of overall fitness, conditioning, things like that, Matty's doing pretty decent, and I think he proved it on here. Now, the other thing, I had someone ask me who did send it to me. They're like, well, we didn't see their actual run, so we don't know for sure. It's like, and while that's a valid criticism because we don't have the proof of their run times, right? We don't have the proof that they actually ran the full 2 miles. I don't think any of us want to stand there and watch 32, 33 minutes of these two guys jogging. Right? Realistically speaking, I'm not going to watch it. You're not going to watch it. Even if they had put the proof up, you didn't sit there and watch the whole thing. You weren't going to watch it and scrutinize it. And if you did watch it and scrutinize it to see if they really did it or not, you probably don't have a life, guys. You probably don't have a life to actually scrutinize a YouTuber that much, given the fact that they passed, but not with amazing marks. They didn't get a perfect score on the running, but they both passed the running and were pretty much dying at the end. You know what? I'll give them credit. I'll say, look, they did it. They did it. I have no reason to doubt that. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.